Tempo Storm defends their spot at the top of the standings. Now we look toward the bottom for a match between friends, Team Freedom and Naventic.
Both of them had positive improvements from Part 1 to Part 2, but Freedom, it feels like they're really hard to gauge right now and how strong they are. I actually have no idea how this series is going to go. I don't even have thoughts, really. It's just both of them made changes, but then it's like, now where did they stand?
Yeah, doing a little caster math, both beat B-Step in what McIntyre called the old form of B-Step. Team Freedom beat them 3-1, but Naventic beat them 3-0. Does that mean Naventic's stronger? It is so hard to tell. Let's check in with the standings and see why this match means so freaking much, guys. Team Freedom and Team Naventic, with No Tomorrow getting an unprecedented victory over Gale Force Esports, they have stepped up above Team Naventic. But it is still a knockdown brawl for the bottom 2 spots and who will be up in the Crucible. And so this match could end up, when we look back, when all is said and done of Part 2, this could be one of the defining matches that chooses that spot.
I think it will be. Really, it very much will be, because I feel like if Freedom manages to win this, they have kind of shown that not only do they have the change to put up fights against enough teams to stay possibly out of the Crucible range, but more importantly, I think it kind of seals the deal. Maybe not 100%, but it really is a nice bump downward for Naventic to put them towards that last place slot, just period. And we not only have the Crucible to look forward to at the end of Part 2, but the playoffs for the mid-season brawl as well. Here's how that takes place. The #1 spot in the league by the end of Part 2 automatically advances to mid-season brawl. They are Gucci, but the rest, that's where the fight happens. 6th place will play versus 5th place in the standings. Winner of that goes versus 4th place all the way up to see who else will join. So it's not just as easy as, okay, top 3 like at Western Clash or even top 2. No, that 2nd spot becomes much harder to clutch out. Yeah, and these teams that we see brawling at the bottom, trying to stay away from the Crucible, that means that they would be on the far left-hand side and have to climb their way all the way through that ladder, legitimately taking out every team except the #1 seed in North America if they want to go to the mid-season brawl. Yeah, that's a really important point you make. The 2 teams that fight in the Crucible don't even get the chance of being able to compete for mid-season brawl. It's only 6th and up. So you're either trying to maintain your spot or you're fighting all the way up through the playoffs. Either way, the end of Part 2 is going to be awesome. Let's hear from Team Freedom and Naventic about this match between friends.
The match against Freedom is really important because it pretty much determines whether we're either top 6 or the bottom 2. So we're definitely preparing for it really hard. I would say Team Freedom's biggest strength is their drafting, for sure. The main thing we have to do is beat them in the draft to get the W. We're hoping that Tom doesn't DC and then we lose like 2 shots and 4 deaths because of it. Hopefully the games against Freedom will be good games and not go to a best of 5. Hopefully we win 3-0.
I think this series against Naventic is probably going to be our most important series of the season. We're feeling good going into it, but we definitely need to pull out a win. I think the biggest strength of Naventic is probably their team fighting, so as long as we just look to play the map well, have a good macro game, I think we'll do fine against them.
Don't let Zuna's sleepiness or the fact that these teams are friends fool you. They are ready to win this match.
You sounded so tired.
Poor guy, I had to wake him up for the interview.
Sleepy Zuna, man. But that is, yeah, they're going to have to be on point here. They're going to have to be up, ready to go. I'm sure they are here very much for today. But, Freedom talked about how they very much view this as their most important match. And with that kind of respect towards this match and the recent success they've had, I got to feel like they've put the time and effort, to really focus on this series and be like, this is a must-win for us. Well, it starts now because we're ready to check out the first battleground of this Best of 5 series. Team Freedom picking the first battleground. This is Towers of Doom. To put into perspective how important this is, Team Freedom was able to beat Superstars as well as B-Step on Towers of Doom. This is one of their best battlegrounds. So for Team Freedom to win here, if they lose to Naventic, I honestly don't know if I can see them winning the series if they lose on Towers. You're just going to flat call it. Yeah. Just no shock. You're not going to give it a round 2. Just that's it. It's done arena. I think this map is so important because these 2 teams know each other
way too well to make any sort of mistakes. When you're putting your best foot forward, you're like, this is our best battleground. Probably. They do really well on Braxis too, but this is Freedom saying we're going to our most comfortable, the best map here for game number 1.
We'll see how it works out for them. I agree with you, though, on the point on towers. It is such a comfort territory for Freedom. You know, we often see that with certain teams, international play, where it's like, this is your best map with your exact draft. If you can't win here, where can you win, really? You know, and so...
The other would be Braxis. Team Freedom have excellent drafting strategies on Braxis, but still even momentum-based, you know, morale-based. Maybe it's the method of how, if they did lose, they could still come back. We'll have to see, though. Team Naventic knows Team Freedom in and out. Even if they hadn't, they'd have 2 series to tell what Team Freedom's strategies on Towers of Doom are, and those strategies revolve around Abathur.
Naventic here has gone for the first pick onto the Vala with that Abathur ban, so some really interesting things coming out already in this series when it comes to the draft. Now we've got to set our focus again towards the Zarya. The fact that she made it through the draft, is this where Freedom picks it up to try and deny, or do they risk letting it go through?
That is a tough one. It's not a focus of what they would like. Arthas is way more. They're still going to get it.
All right, that does give up the globals, though, so we can see Naventic kind of have the opportunity to put focus on choke holding those out if they really think that they are worth the time with their composition. For Naventic, though, their priority has really... Malf is still up, so that in this rotation, I expect a Malfurion to come out from them. Other than that, they don't have any... Actually, they have some of the highest Lucio value of almost any team in North America, only after Malfurion.
Yeah, these teams will be fighting a lot over Arthas. But with that gone, I would say... would they pick Lucio over Malfurion, though?
I don't think so. I think it's like a Malfalstad if they really want the global game, but it doesn't meet Naventic's playstyle for the most part. I mean, I think Freedom in their interview put it best when it's just they are a good team-fighting team. They do struggle with their global play. They're going to conform and go to it. They're going to go with the Dahaka, though, over the Falstad, and then get themselves that Malfurion.
We have had a lot of questions over what heroes B-Kid will be playing throughout, especially with Zuna switching over to the second warrior generally. So Team Freedom are considering that as well. What do they want B-Kid to play, and what do they not want him to be playing? There was a lot of variant play from B-Kid in Part 1.
Yeah, and if it wasn't the variant, it was always the Johanna. Johanna is the weaker into the double warrior, so if we keep holding true what we see in Part 2 so far, this variant ban would lead to a forced Johanna and a double warrior that maybe isn't optimal for Naventic. Unless, since week 1 to 2 here, they've figured it out. They've done something different. This is the moment.
The drafts for this series are going to be so much fun because it's just straight like poking fun. These are the biggest scrim partners for each other. They are good friends. They even feel it's a bittersweet match, right? One has to win. They don't want to defeat their friends. At least that's what I heard from Zuna. I don't know what you heard from Zugrug.
Zugrug was a bit more passive than Zuna almost always is. So yeah, no, it was nothing but kind words for these group of players. Naventic for their ban, with double frontline already picked up, what do they want to remove? Is it going to be Fear? Probably most likely a backliner. But if it was afraid of anything, it would be Lucio probably, or maybe an Ariel if they're afraid of a possible Gul'dan, Zarya, you know, trio. Jamming, dude.
I am.
There it is. They're going to focus more on the battery removal than they are about anything else. Lunara makes more sense than possible Gul'dan removal, just because Lunara is honestly better on maps where you don't instantly need the wave clear for the most part, unless you really need the AoE Horrify, or that you can fight around an objective for a long period of time. Gul'dan can really do well, like Infernal Shrines, but on this map, I think I do like that Lunara ban more for Naventic.
Going to need some backliners for Team Freedom. At least one. So Do you like the Gul'dan the best here? Other options, Greymane is still up.
Yeah, so I really like a Gul'dan Greymane if you're going to go into an Ariel support, but I don't think you have to. With Lucio still up, you can run triple Warrior here. So Falstad and Gul'dan. So Falstad to be able to match, or excuse me, and Greymane. So no battery strategy, but you're going to have the Arthas, Zarya, and Greymane. Those three together are absolutely insane. Greymane slowing, or Arthas slows everything down for Greymane, and then getting the shields on top of it. It is just a whole world of pain for Team Naventic there with that draft, and then they're going to be able to match the globals. Team Freedom right now has got a solid comp.
Freedom, their Greymane player, too. Nasmus had some sick plays the other day.
Naventic now, do we see, this is the moment where we get to see what is BK going to play. Is it in fact going to be the Johanna, and they're going to resort again to the safer warrior choices for him?
Have we seen B-Kid play Muradin yet? Because that was a old...
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet in part 2.
Have we seen him play a lot of Muradin since you could no longer be unstoppable with Dwarf Toss?
Oh, yes, we have.
There he is.
There it is. And it's going to be the Nazebo sticking with that late game power spike. Naventic has shown to lean towards the Nazebro ever since part 2 kicked off.
B-Kid used to be known for his Muradin plays.
Yeah,
now that's noblesse.
I mean, B-Kid was, like, if you were to name a warrior that I think of B-Kid as, like, his top form was always Muradin. Whenever that was a, you know, a very different form of Muradin, but still a very impactful one. B-Kid was insane. His patience on his Stormbolt specifically was the one thing that always kind of really impressed me. I mean, I want to see, I think it's got to be the Lucio, because they don't go for any, you know, they didn't go for a battery. So Ariel's not even close to an option, and no other support can even begin to compete, really, with Nazebo's damage output.
Global on either side. Nazebo, late game damage. We've got Vala for consistent damage throughout. Team Freedom on the other side. Get their Arthas. Seeing them change up what they have prioritized Towers of Doom, at least prior in the last 2 series. They get their Greymane again, though. What are you thinking?
I feel like the Muradin pickup for Naventic and putting B-Kid there is going to really help them a lot. Seeing that adjustment in the priority there, it did take a variant ban too, so I do feel like Freedom maybe didn't get as much out of the draft as they could have, but I also feel like they have an insane composition. Like, the only way I see this really going the other way is if somehow B-Kid on the Muradin goes back to really, really high impact, and then also the Nazebo late game spike is just too much for the members of Freedom to deal with.
They will have Lucio at least to try to negate that as well, though, for Team Freedom. Have we seen very much Collusion Lucio play?
On Collusion, no. Not too much, a little bit here and there, but I don't think it was very much. At most, I'm going to say off the top of my head, it's only been about 1 to 2 games.
There was one last, their very first series, and not seeing any in the second one. So this will be a case to see how Collusion fares with the Lucio as well. It was a loss in their first series, but they've been playing other heroes so far.
Yeah, I normally Collusion, for being the guy who's made the role swap, he hasn't come off as, like, honestly out of position too frequently, like we often see with people with the role swap that he's had. Like, for the most part, he's filling the role, so I don't think I look at this as, like, you know, it's going to be a major problem for them. A lot of it's just going to be, they do have a reasonably high skill cap composition. Naventic does too, so it's going to set it to where it's just who can execute a bit better around their power spikes.
We're ready for game number 1, so we head to Towers of Doom between Team Freedom and Naventic.
And on the left-hand side here in the blue is going to be Team Freedom with Collusion on the Lucio. Arthas is going to be played by Zugrug. We're going to have Insomnia there onto the Greymane, so switching that a bit. Dansky on Zarya. And last year is going to be Nasmus on the Falstad.
And looking to stop Team Freedom on their own battleground Towers of Doom is Team Naventic with Kenma playing Malfurion. Up next, B-Kid playing Muradin, known for that hero for a long, long time. Zuna switching roles to the melee flex, playing Dahaka. Nazebo, played by Big Impact. playing that a lot more, as Dread mentioned. And finally, Tomster, who also made the role swap, now playing Vala.
We do see somebody breaking the mold on the level 1s of Malfurion, going Shando's Clarity. Be able to help Nazebo put out more spider damage post 16. That sounds pretty crazy. Double CDR is going to be awesome here. The rest of the laning matchups looks like both teams are just comfortably in a 1-1-3.
Global's in the top lane, so that once the first altar phase starts, they can grab those and then rotate down, either mid or bot. Other talents look normal. Seasoned Marksman Falstad, full cocktail build for Greymane, so not even a combo with Wolfheart.
Just full cocktail.
It does increase range to help be able to stall altar grabs.
It's the delay that it provides is pretty significant too with that range there. But you know, it will hurt the skirmishing chase a little for Freedom with their Greymane player. They're going to sit back and cast and then look to all-in initiate at the same time now with that type of build.
Falstad's been caught up in the top lane, trying to barrel roll out. Does, in fact, do so through the roots, but Dahaka's here. Zugrug tried to catch in time. The rotations were too late to save the life of Falstad.
Just Zuna casually burrowing, like, just barely over the wall there. I thought for sure he would try and go a little bit deeper, but that is now the kill for Naventic here over Freedom, setting the tone. What is now norm for North America here. Both teams getting the sappers as the first shrines are going to spawn. Both the globals respectively capturing their own. So the fight here is going to be on bottom.
Naventic started theirs slightly late. Dansky is trying to pick this up and does do so before Tomster can get in for a multi-shot, with that trading out as well as the top. Team Freedom, even in losing Falstad at the beginning of all of these shenanigans, still steals 2 of the altars.
That is just insane there. You know, the body blocking, the positioning to be able to get that channel this early on, showing a bit of miscommunication coming out of Naventic. But they're going to be fine, still ahead in the experience. They have their sappers to enable here on bottom. Daka's looking to start the sappers on top. So they're going for more macro control. A very newer version of Naventic kind of approach. And ever since we see Zuna role swap, it seems like they have put more emphasis onto those globals.
Yeah, even in part 1, they were realizing that they were having trouble keeping up with the experience gain, and getting behind in globals was one way that they were able to mitigate that. But now fully letting Zuna play his Dahaka a lot, as well as some Falstad too.
Stormbolt not landing there. Will Insomnia be able to make it out? Really good use of his E and Q there. He is going to be fine. The rest of the members flank. Howling Blast does not land. And that is going to allow BK to be able to move right on out here. So, double gank attempt, but no kill to be earned here. Still only that first one on Falstad around the first shrine.
Also trying to deal with all the pressure in the top lane. While the rest of the team is rotating around, holding on to the lanes. Greymane, such a nice hero to have on your team, being able to pick up mercenary camps, and he is doing just that, while the anchoring from Zugrug ensures that it doesn't get stolen away.
I got a shout out to Collusion. Dropped the first B-step of the game, as we saw. They casually misbooped on bottom. Sappers are going to apply pressure up on top, though. Naventic now see the shots are going to be down here on bottom, and everybody looks like they're going to move their way over, except for, obviously, here, the globals.
But again, rotation is taking some time, so Freedom will at least have the better setup around this, except for having Falstad start to fly in, which he's looking to do so. Zugrug zoning.
Stormbolt's down too, so it's not going to be a tool they can use to delay. So it's forced to the Dwarf Toss, a huge boomerang on a Tomster, gets him low, but Zuna with the burrow there now, the drag onto Nasmus, but he keeps himself up.
He used his essence already though, and he's still deep within the lines of Team Freedom as Collusion's trying to chase him down, boops him back. But the zoning is so good from Team Freedom, and they will claim the next altar.
Altars 1 and 2 here, and Freedom gets shots advantage on the core. This is the best map, though, for Freedom. We knew that they are very, very good when it comes to the map. They're showing signs of extreme comfort here. So it is likely that they're going to be able to get this win, and maybe not being as strong of an indicator to the power strength of both these levels. But Naventic is keeping within a realistic range for this to be anybody's game. It's just, I feel like the next alter phase is really going to be the breaking point for either one of these teams, especially for Naventic here with their composition that they made a draft. If Freedom gets more shots into a late game composition with more experience of advantage, it does feel like they might be able to control the bell towers for a long enough period of time that we'll never see that true late game Nazebo spike.
Yeah, the spike for Naventic hit and start to allow them to come back. But it is a good point that you make, that Naventic probably feeling pretty comfortable here, especially after that Storm Bowl and a Roots land too. Zugrug does not have Army of the Dead yet, but staying alive, but the spiders are chasing him down. Arthas goes down.
Yeah, I'm looking for the fadeaway there. Insomnia, not enough damage to get the pick there. On to Tomster, and that is going to be another member going down here for Freedom, 2-0 when it comes to the kills. And Naventic is going to try and use this downtime to steal away the Sappers.
Wallstead continuing to soak in the top, pushing that lane, hoping he can get that pushed into the towers before rotation comes in. But Zuna is there. Sappers stolen from for Team Naventic. Heroics almost here as well. Naventic have been very focused on this bottom lane. They've already taken down the towers. They're looking to get the first bell tower of the game.
Cleanse is going to be used there by Kenma, so a cooldown that won't be up for some time. We talked about B-Kid on the Murden and the impact that he used to be able to have as a player and whether or not that would show here. I mean, he is hitting some Storm Bolts, but it's about a 50-50. I would say it's below what you would say is a comfortable level of Storm Bolts to be missed.
Warm-up game.
All right, the warm-up game may be real, but either way, it's something we are going to keep our eyes on here, as we know it's been a talking point for some time.
That we will. Rain of Vengeance from Tomster. Locks down Dansky, who's getting chased down once again from Spiders. Clusion pops Sound Barrier. Teams split apart. Twilight Dream hits Arthas. He continues to chase, wants to take down Tomster, slowing him down. Zugrug separated. In comes Insomnia for the dive. Look at the health bars of Naventic. 3 are down.
And look at that. Insomnia not only getting the double go for the throw proc, finishing off the last member. Collusion with the Booperino. And that is a 5-0 wipe. Team Freedom get their first kills in very convincing fashion here in this game. A full level lead here, Sapper control, and all the time in the world to figure out how they want to manipulate this Towers of Doom map. So Naventic really can't come back.
Freedom look to start some bell tower pressure here in the bottom, while Falstad continues to soak, furthering their experience advantage. 1 level lead amassed from the advantage of finally getting a team wipe, getting kills. Those were the first kills for Freedom this game.
Yeah, it was just, it went from
0 kills
they were just kind of getting picked off here and there, and then it was like, all right, well, they're doing things. Invade here for Naventic. Dahaka is yet to make the rotation. Falstad is trying to make his way down. There's an expulsion zone, so the camp going over to Freedom, but will they manage to survive?
Here comes Nasmus looking for the fly. Sound Barrier too. He is just separating out. Volley gets taken out. A nice gust from Nasmus after the fact. This is going to be another team wipe. Can they take anyone down with it? They're trying for Insomnia at least. No! Team Freedom back-to-back wiping Naventic.
Huge shout out to Nasmus there in that last fight. So he got for an insane flight behind everybody, right? And that at first is like, okay, that's pretty neat. You know, you got really good position for the gust. But it wasn't until Collusion got the last second Sound Barrier, which Nasmus held on to his gust. He didn't gust right out the gates. He waited till everybody knew they would survive, and then he was like, all right, now I'm making sure that all of you managed to die.
So good. Such patience from Team Freedom here.
And then manages to pick up double bell tower and a 2-3 level lead over Naventic in game number 1. Man, that just, it went from two kills to nothing to 10 to 2 so fast.
I've seen this on Towers of Doom before.
The middle bell tower will be converted back in time for Naventic, but that's still going to be a 5-3 when it comes to the channels here on these altars. Naventic still doesn't even have the same talent tier as Freedom. Sappers are going to apply pressure on bottom. Freedom can do what they want.
2 altars, so where do Naventic stand? Make their stand in the mid, but Zugrug's ready and willing to zone them away. There goes 1, there goes 2, 10 shots on the core.
Setting the health down now to 14. Freedom having an insane health advantage here, and these Sappers are only going to further that if they can escort them in. Way too much damage, though, out from the gazebo. Those toads, turns out they hurt really, really bad onto the minion waves. Freedom now is just going to be looking for that 16, since Naventic has managed to pick up the 13 talent here.
There's still some sappers in the bottom lane if they want to go back. That camp is rather far back, and why do that when they might be able to get kills instead? Continuing to defend this bell tower while Falstad soaks what they need. Dahaka trying to do the same.
Kenma gets a root. It's going to allow a lot of damage there go on to Zugrug. Again, you know, Nazebo is not at the late game spike that he wants to be, not quite yet. He's not. 16 is when it's, you know, mission completed.
Yeah, he at least has finished his quest for that.
So the damage output is going to be there. And any amount of CC you can get to help those spiders catch up and get the damage is really going to help. So will this happen? Good barrel roll. Rain. He's got Gust. Well, that's an oh, I see it. I see you working.
I see your B step.
That's about the 4th or 5th Freedom's dropped, you know, into Naventic here in this game.
Friendly B steps coming out from Freedom. Still holding on to this bottom bell tower, and it's triple altar phase time.
They've just been casually hanging out down here and being like, what's up? We would like to keep this bell tower. If you could let that happen, that'd be fine. Greymane did pick up the sappers, though, so they're going to have that pressure. Falstad is alone up on top, and he's got the 2v1, so that might be something of note. No, just out of drag range. Nasmus moves up, though. He will die. Essence is going to be used by Zuna.
Can Greymane get here in time? Goss to stop it. Beakit and Kinma are here, too. The bottom's been claimed, but it's by Lucio, so he's going to be a bit, although with Accelerando, he'll start zooming his way up to the top. This has been stopped. One altar, the second altar, and continued shot dominance from Team Freedom.
They are one boss away from winning this game in very convincing fashion.
And in case you've forgotten, they may have used Gust, but they still have Expulsion Zone.
Twilight Dream, Gargantuan, this is not a free boss by any means, even with 16 talent here. Let's see what happens as it goes down. Twilight Dream onto the backline. There's 3 people hit.
Expulsion Zone pushes them out. Game.
That is it. Good night. Team Freedom having no patience for any of your business. Naventic.
You can have 1 pick. You can maybe have 2, but if you try for anything else,
just get out of here.
Team wipe. But we did say that is a choice of Battleground for Team Freedom, and it was important that they did well there. I'd say they did well.
Yeah, they did. And I think the thing to gauge that I know from that when I was posturing, I think it's really hard to figure out where these teams fall. We expected Freedom to win on this map, but it's what they were doing to win, which was more of just out-rotating and still out-winning team fights, right? Those only two team fights we really got of the game, they very convincingly won, so I suddenly go, this isn't just a map thing, right? This is just them being better as a group of players. So I am leaning more in the, you know, Freedom hype train after watching how they were able to win.
Well, there's been a lot of teams talking about Team Freedom. Even Sam saying that he feels like Team Freedom could be up in some of the upper echelon of the standings. So Freedom showing us exactly why some other teams are starting to feel that, and we noted that too with their differences and changes in drafting, being willing to adapt a lot from week 1 to week 2 in part 2.
Yeah, we knew there would be awesome changes. Again, it's just more of when everybody's moving up, who moves farther than the other relative to everyone else. How does that work out? So Naventic here has a lot to, you know, try and turn around. If they do not, once again, it's so important this series specifically when looking at the Crucible, whoever ends up losing it, especially if Naventic loses it, has significantly higher chances of falling in that slot.
Well, the next game we'll see how Naventic tries to turn things around. We're headed to a break. More HGC.